volume out there, folks? Is it fuzzy? Is it funny? Is it funky? Is it just normal? Whatever. There's always some little technical glitch you got to deal with in this world, which is why I have brilliant people like Maddie Kane pulling the switches for me. Welcome to the Fallon Forum, and this is a conversation of great importance tonight, folks. We're talking about the sex offender registry, sex offender laws in general, civil commitment, and you are welcome to join this conversation. Perhaps you think the laws aren't tough enough. Perhaps you've had an experience that indicates that the laws have taken a turn for the worse. At either way, we welcome all opinions on this program. We welcome opinions who agree with me, and we welcome those of you who are wrong. Give us a call at 855-244-0077, 855-244-0077. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for being long-term supporters of this program. And I want to thank Citizens United for the rehabilitation of errants, commonly known as CURE, Iowa CURE, for helping to sponsor this particular conversation. And again, an important conversation it is. I also want to thank all of my individuals who support this program and my business allies, including Gateway Market and Cafe. Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland is our neighborhood grocery store in downtown Des Moines. Please support it, folks. They do great things for our community as well as provide wonderful food and a great place for breakfast, lunch, and supper. Okay, my guest tonight is Galen Boffman. He's the communications director with International Cure, and we're going to be talking about why he's here in Des Moines. Galen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I want to first tell you my little story. I was in the legislature, and we had a proposal to create these distance requirements. Sex offenders could not live any closer than a certain distance, and they were haggling over the distance. Somebody proposed 2,000 feet, thinking, well, we'll cut it down to 1,000. We'll make it more reasonable. We'll cut it down to 1,000. But of course, once 2,000 was on the table, no legislator had the guts to propose reducing it to something even remotely manageable. And so everybody but one, me, voted for the bill. Law enforcement, of course, after the fact, came out against it. County attorneys realized it was unworkable. It cost Polk County about $4 million. But that still hasn't stopped politicians from continuing to hammer on this issue, to use it against people who tend to, look at the fiscal side and the human side and vote the right way on it. I mean, I experienced that firsthand in 2008 when I ran against Leonard Boswell. So we have lots of problems with sex offender laws because they aren't crafted around good policy. They're crafted around what somebody wants in a campaign brochure. So we have our work cut out for us. That's why I'm glad you're here, because this is an important conversation. Tell us a little bit about your background first, and then I want to hear specifically why it is you're here in Des Moines.
So when I was 19 years old, I was arrested. I was at college, and I was arrested for having a consensual relationship with an underage teenager. He was 14, and I was 19, and I went to prison for 7 years. And at the end of my prison term, they hit me with what they call a civil commitment petition.
What's it called?
It's just called civil
commitment petition.
They say it's civil. It's anything but civil. But the idea is that the person is somehow incapable of controlling their behavior, and therefore needs to be preemptively detained to prevent violence. So in my case, it was particularly remarkable. The Attorney General's office brought in an expert who had never actually evaluated me. And he drew his conclusions based on 5 reports by experts who had actually evaluated me, all of whom said that I didn't have a psychological problem. So the person brought in by the state claimed that I did. That's basically what the person's paid to do. And so I was held for 2.5 years past my mandatory good time release date, my release date from prison, while I was waiting for a trial. And when I finally got a trial, I had 7 jury members. All but one of them were women, mostly mothers, I think. And I got to be the first person in the history of the law in Virginia to actually win a jury trial in one of these cases.
Wow, I'm surprised you won. I mean, it's all stacked against you.
That's why I was the first.
All right. We were getting some comments on this. Getting some phone calls as well. Tell us briefly why you are here, what specifically is happening, and then I want to go to our phone lines and share some of the responses we're getting from people.
Sure. This week I'm here in Iowa talking to college students and to the general public and lawmakers as well about civil commitment statutes, the practice of preemptively detaining sex offenders for basically imaginary crimes that they haven't even planned to commit, in fact. And I will be talking on a Sunday at, do you remember the location for the church?
It's the Grace United Methodist Church,
Fantastic.
I believe, at 3800 Cottage Grove.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I will be delivering an address about this issue.
Okay. And are you speaking elsewhere in the state?
No, I think that we're primarily here in Des Moines. It's a whirlwind trip. I'm going to be here for 4.5 days or so. Okay,
good. And do you do a lot of talking around the rest of the country?
Yeah, I just recently got back from a trip touring through our northeastern states. Our executive director, Charlie Sullivan, and I visited, we had 8 meetings in 7 states over 5 days, so it was pretty exciting, and it was just as the leaves were turning up northeast. So, yeah.
Well, at least you had good timing on fall foliage.
Yeah.
Congratulations for that. Okay, so let's go to our phone line shortly. Again, folks, 244-0077, 244-0077, the number to call if you want to join the conversation. Let's go to Dave on line 1. Hello, Dave. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Ed. You asked me to call, so here I am.
Well, yeah, you're always welcome to call the show, and I know this is an issue you care deeply about.
Yeah, I've been an activist with this particular issue since I was in prison in 2002. I started a group called Rare Pearl.
Rare Pearl?
Yeah, it was an acronym for something I can't even remember now. But we were pretty active between, the 2002 time frame, and between 2005 and 2008, I was active with the legislature, trying to fight against things like the residency restrictions and stuff like that. Because it does absolutely nothing to fix anything or solve any problems or make anybody safer. It's just absolutely a political game to look good on TV, which it does.
It works. Now, politically it works.
Yeah, it does politically, but that's the only way it works, though. It doesn't work for, anything to make a better, safer society. Now, I want to start by clarifying something here.
Okay.
I do support the registry, the concept of the registry, in the fact that it is designed to be a tool for law enforcement to have somewhere to start in investigations and stuff like that, where they can identify people who have committed this same type of crime before. As a law enforcement tool, as an information tool, yes. But unfortunately, the registry laws led to a bunch of other stuff that have just come down to be ways to get votes for people. And, with the advent of all the sex offender laws since the late 90s, and of course we can't forget that superb piece of legislation, the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act, which led to Iowa's SF 340.
Which one was that, Dave?
The Adam Walsh Act.
Adam Walsh, yeah. Just so people are up to speed on what you're talking about.
It's a piece of legislation in the federal government passed that basically took the idea of the sex offender registries in the state and made it a federal, and actually the federal law now supersedes the state. The state still has to do that, but the federal law itself supersedes everything the state does. But the Iowa legislature passed Senate File 340, which basically put Iowa into...
conformed Iowa with the federal statute, correct?
Right, and there were a number of states that initially said, oh, this is a bunch of nonsense, we're not going to do this. And even when it was being implemented after the legislature here passed the SF 340, there was a number of county sheriffs that were like, no, I'm not going to do that. And one way or another, they were eventually forced to anyway. But because, as in down here in southern Iowa, the sheriff was basically saying, everybody knows who everybody is and everybody's getting along fine and everything. Right. I'm not going to, fix something that isn't broke. And of course, the County Attorneys Association came out against all this stuff, and something and another.
So what do you got? Galen, you've got county attorneys, you've got lawyers, you've got all law enforcement. You got a lot of the people on the inside who have to enforce the laws, who are saying this stuff is going way too far, and then you've got people who've been through the system who are upstanding citizens. Dave, one of many examples, people who've paid their dues. They're on the right side of the law, and yet you still have these laws continue to proliferate. I mean, why?
Well, it's remarkable because there's actually been a phenomenon whereby states have stopped getting in line with Adam Walsh Act. There was a great study done by the Government Accounting Office that came out, I think, last February. And they did an 18-month study of the state compliance with AWA and found that a vast majority of states are not compliant with AWA. In fact,
sometimes the way the law was put together, states couldn't actually completely comply because the federal government could just simply say, well, that's not good enough.
Well, it's interesting that the federal government bent over backwards, the Justice Department, to come up with a new category of compliance, which they called substantially compliant, which basically meant, well, nobody was really towing the line. And there was a whole host of reasons. Some states had...
Substantially compliant. I mean, I don't even know what that means.
Nobody really knows what that means.
All right, well, okay.
Yeah, right. But you know, what I have here is I have some experience. Of course, I was in prison for 4.5 years, and so I have some experience in the Iowa justice system. And I have 3 years of study in psychology, and a lot of that was I focused that on things that would be beneficial to myself in terms of, because I have other issues. I have service-connected issues of PTSD and depression, anxiety, and so forth that fed into all these things too. But 3 years of study in that, and particularly the research that I and my compadres in Rare Pearl back in the day put together. And then there's one recent developing case and a number of things that stand out as evidence for how the state tries to apply the laws ineffectively. In one case, while I was in prison, there was a guy who was basically a poster boy for civil commitment who was let go free. And in 3 other cases, the state tried to apply the registry law and the other aspects of the situation as a third strike rule. And the Iowa Supreme Court basically called them out and said, no, you can't do that, and basically had some strong words for the legislature in terms of how the law was supposed to be used. You can't use a civil regulatory law to apply criminal punishment. And they were still trying to do it anyway, and they're still trying to do it in certain ways. They have recently, in a 2010 case, Dykstra versus Iowa, the guy was denied good time on the basis of the fact that he chose not to finish the sex offender treatment program. And the court said that they violated his liberty rights because of a lack of due process protection in that the process of justice allowed him to be classified as a sex offender, even though he did have some prior sex things, but this particular case he was on had nothing to do with sex.
Dave, I got to run to a break. Okay.
All right.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I do have some. I do have another person we want to talk with. I got a few messages to share with people, so I want to thank you for your call. I know we can go on all night. You've had such a wealth of experience and have done so many things to try to bring some sense to this law. It is really appreciated. But I got her under a break. Thank you so much for calling. Galen, any more quick word before I got to...
Yeah. Let me just really briefly address this concept that the registry is an important tool for law enforcement, because I think that people don't realize that there was, before the Adam Walsh Act, and could continue after without the Walsh Act intervention, a police procedure of tracking sexual offenders into the future. You don't need a public notification component to that. And the public notification effectively prevents people who are ever convicted of a sexual offense from moving forward with their lives. Kids can't go back to college.
That's happening in so many cases. Yeah. Folks, so we're talking with Galen Boffman. He's the Communications Director for International Cure. We're going to be talking with a mother of a sex offender who will remain anonymous. She's in the studio with us. We'll keep her anonymous to respect her wishes. There are reasons why that's a good idea. I also want to share some of the mail we're getting on this subject. I also want to tie the whole conversation into if you don't mind, this is a local issue, but I want to tie it into the vote coming up on the Polk County Courthouse referendum. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff to discuss in the second half of the show, but I can't get out of this segment without thanking the people who make this show possible. Again, Gateway Marketing Cafe, folks, please support our local grocery store that makes a big difference in our community. I want to thank N-Touch Therapy Services. That's Kim Foley's business. She's a physical and massage therapist, and for $40, you can get a great full-body massage, hour-long massage. Call Kim at 979-8629. That's 979-8629. I also want to thank Community CPA and Associates, Iowa's 10th largest accounting firm at 3816 Ingersoll Ave. And one of my new clients, Corazon Coffee Roasters. I want to say grinders. Corazon Coffee Roasters. Now, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love the fact that they're doing fair trade coffee and fair trade tea. They're in West Des Moines, folks, and they'll provide that great product for a lot of events and a lot of businesses. I also want to thank Ritual Cafe at 13th and Locust. Again, great for coffee, but I'm there for the tea. I'll be back in just a couple minutes, folks.